What's up, everybody? Welcome to Believe in Kentucky, the Believe Network. Benny Hardy here, Cole Park there. Got CP back in the building. An episode or two without you last week, and look, North Prairie was ready to dive into some Yankees, Red Sox. He's like, "Oh man, I hate Cole's not here." So we're getting back on here, and y'all can hash out all of that AL East stuff.
Some respect on my goat,
Oh,
Manny Ramirez. Not my actual goat, but I do have a Manny Ramirez bobblehead, so I'm gonna flex that while I have it.
uh-huh.
I have a lot of Red Sox stuff in here, but I also don't feel like getting up and walking around the apartment to go get the rest of it. So that was within reaching distance right there.
There you go. Always good to have Manny just hanging out within reach. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, I actually do have this. This is pretty cool up here. This is a 2021 season ticket holder item. It's a candle that smells like Fenway grass.
Oh, okay.
This was given to the 2021 season ticket holders of the Red Sox.
So you got
And
season
me.
ticket?
No,
Oh,
but I got one anyway. No,
I guess you just going to Lexington to Boston all summer long until
that'd be a
fan day.
busy travel. I think the airlines would love me if I did that, but
For sure, for sure.
no.
Well, you got Manny within reach. The Cats could not stay within reach of Alabama
No,
on
they could not.
Saturday in
No,
Tuscaloosa.
they could not.
So you were in the building. 2026 is got the same weaknesses and deficiencies as 2025. Had a full roster too. I'm just saying.
Well, I actually, wearing the hoodie, I actually thought it was kind of nice. The Wildcats paid homage to the Buffalo Bills. Going against Alabama, they're now 0-4. So fitting they would pay that little tribute to the Bills there, losing out in the division this year. 0-4 against Alabama under Mark Pope. Bills 0-4 in the Super Bowl, as we know. So shout out to my Bills Mafia out there. But no, it was rough, Vinny. And like you said, they kind of put on some fool's gold magic there a little bit with a couple runs. But when you're in the venue or if you're watching the game, I don't know if you felt the same way. Where I was sitting in the arena, even when they were making those runs, even when they got close to single digits in the second half, it never really felt like they actually had a chance. Even when they were pushing, I was like, all right, well, just this will be fun until Alabama hits a three, and then they're going to hit another one and another one and another one. And however many times I need to say another one until I get to 15, Vinny, they hit 15 of them. Absurdity on that. Bit weaker. I'm perimeter defense got left in Lexington, I hate to admit, but that was also not Kentucky's biggest issue, was it? At the end of the day, I wrote my story. It'll be in our print edition coming out soon. We're going to weekly print editions now at the Cat's Paws, but my story is that Nate Oates in Alabama released the blueprint on how to beat Kentucky and didn't just put it on display. He spelled it out for you pretty clearly in the press conference. I wrote about that. He answered my question with more honesty than I thought he would and with more bluntness than I thought he would. That was my question. I asked him, reading you some of the story, I mentioned that superstar Jaden Quaintance, like you said, a fully healthy roster. Jalen Lowe had a solid game for himself, points-wise with 21 points. Bit inefficient getting there, 8 for 16, 1 for 5 from beyond the arc. He had 2 assists to 3 turnovers, but that was indicative of a larger issue with Kentucky in this game. But when you look at the bigs, Jaden Quaintance, 5 points, 6 rebounds, had the lowest plus-minus on the team with a negative 20. Imagine telling someone when JQ first turned that he would have the lowest plus-minus on the team. And his backup, Malachi Marino, wasn't any better. 4 points, 4 rebounds. And then Brandon Garrison had himself a nice little block party with 3 blocks. And how did he follow that up? 1.1 rebound, less than 10 minutes played. Even Mo Diabate, former Crimson Tide player in his own, kind of helped launch this smash mouth style. He had 8 rebounds, but just 6 points. It was Otega Owe and Jalen Lowe scoring most of Kentucky's points. And I asked Nate Oates, because Pope, quite frankly, didn't offer the best answer to me. I asked him, what were they doing to limit them? He said, quote, they were just collapsing. There's a lot of traffic down there. I was really disappointed with their effectiveness on the glass. They also got out-rebounded, I pointed out, and just barely won points in the paint, which is you can feel good they won points in the paint until you realize that Kentucky was mostly trying to get in the paint and Alabama was mostly trying not to get in the paint. So just barely winning that figure is not
Yeah.
necessarily something to celebrate. But he went on to say we were a 9-assist team. The ball was pretty sticky, and their practice did not translate to the game. But I asked Natos the same question, one of the last questions of his press conference, and he gave me a lengthy quote. It's 3 paragraphs long in the story, but if you'll indulge me, I'll read it to you in full. This is what Natos had to say when I asked him, what did you guys do? My question was more, was the plan just to kind of force them to shoot it? Because that's what Bellarmine tried to do. And even if Bellarmine lost the game, they made Kentucky look a bit vulnerable doing it. And he said, quote, we looked at a few stats coming into this game. I had our guys pull every assist they had because when I watched them play, I didn't feel like they moved the ball great. Then you look at their assist rates, and they're actually pretty high. Well, I took a deeper dive, and 27 assists came in by games that played a lot of zone. He said when they play high major teams that were good, their assist rate is very low. He said they throw it into the bigs and they're not passing. They had 7 assists out of the post in 13 games coming in. Moreno had 4 of them. He said, I think somebody else had 3. He couldn't remember who. He said nobody else had an assist in 13 games out of the post. They're not trying to pass. They're trying to score the ball outside of Moreno, who is talented and will pass the ball a little bit. Nice little praise for Malachi Moreno there from NATO. Then he said he told his players, go get the ball. When they throw it down low, they're trying to score. Our bigs fight to catch it, force it out. Our guards, when they go down low, go get it because they're not going to pass it. And he said, I thought we did a pretty good job of that. And that to me, it was a story, wasn't it? I mean, that was indicative of what happened to Kentucky. And I could go on a little bit more of a tangent if you'd like me to. I have a good metaphor for how it felt to me, but I don't want to just hog all the spotlight here. So,
Hey, man, you were in the building, so that's.
have you ever seen Ted Lasso, Vinny?
I have not. I'm terrible with movies and pop
All right.
culture
Well,
stuff, and
in season 3,
uh-huh.
spoiler alert for anyone watching Ted Lasso, they moved to a system called Total Football. It's a soccer show. They moved to a system called Total Football. And what's special about Total Football is basically positionless football. You get me?
Ooh.
Anyone can play all over. Everyone should be able to pass. Everyone should be able to score. Everyone should be able to defend. It's very hard to be good at it, but if you're good at it, it's very effective. That's what made the Netherlands such a great team back in the day. Man City uses it with Pep Guardiola. That's how they've won so many titles. Barcelona won some titles with it. It's a very strong system if you can make it work. But there's a really pivotal scene, I thought, in that season where they want Jamie Tart, who's he's Phil Dunster, I think, is the actor, but he's one of the main characters in the show. They want him to be the core of the team, and they need him to come to that recognition. They need him to come to that realization on his own. So they make him play kind of out of position in a place that doesn't work. They intentionally play a system that doesn't work so that he can come to it on his own. And his point was he should not be at the top. He should be in the middle. He said, you should not go to me. You should go through me. Does that make sense? He said,
Mm-hmm.
let me be the conductor of this system and stop trying to just force it to me because all they have to do is shut me down and then they win. And that's exactly what happened with Kentucky's bigs. Last year, Amari Williams was a distributor. He was a fantastic. He could score the ball down low. He could have some big point games. But Amari Williams, what made him such a special big is that Amari Williams could run your offense. Amari Williams could take the ball up the floor if he needed to. He
Mm-hmm.
could play down low. He could be that big guy, but he could also get the ball down low and then kick it back out for a 3-pointer, kick it back out for a drive or a cut or an
Mm-hmm.
Owe who's slashing into the lane. This year, they're not doing that. I think we saw, I screenshotted it on Twitter. We saw a bit of something from, let me go find it real quick for you here. I believe it was Jaden Quaintance's dad who
Yeah.
was on Twitter being pretty honest about it. And this tweet is exactly what I was feeling about that go to me, not through me, or go through me, not to me. He said, went from the highest big usage to highest guard usage in the country. Can't pick and roll all game if you can't pass out of it. The ball sticks and the Bama moved the ball and kept us honest. And that's true. Last year, when Kentucky would go down low, they could kick it back out. They could score down low. They could throw it to a slasher. This year, as Nate Oates pointed out with his analytics, I mean, we know Mark Pope's an analytical coach, but we don't always necessarily know that we agree with those analytics. There's been a lot of concern about some of those analytics that are being focused on, like Brandon Garrison having the highest whatever stat that keeps him playing, when with our eyes we saw for a while there he was very ineffective. And
Yeah.
he's gotten better. I'm not going to say he's perfect now. He's not, but he's gotten better. But not the best analytics to use. Nate Oates used analytics effectively. He said when they go to their bigs, they're not kicking it back out. They want to score down low, and that's been this smash mouth style we've seen. And that's fine until it's not, because you play a team that politely is good at basketball. And that's relative, because there's a lot of teams that are good at basketball, and I like college basketball for the stories and the small teams and all of that. But a team that actually has ambitions this season beyond just making the tournament, and they don't do that very well. They don't play their system very well, and that's because of what Oates pointed out. When they go down low, it's extremely predictable what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to score every time they go down low, and all you got to do is just, when they pass the ball down low, collapse everyone. Send everyone down there, because they're not passing it anyway, so what do we care if we leave everybody open on the wings? It doesn't matter. They're not going to pass it. And quite frankly, with this team, there's not a guarantee they're going to make it, even if they do pass it back out
Thank
there and
you.
shoot it.
Thank
So
you.
what's the harm in just, they throw it down low to Quaintance or Marino, just collapse everybody, send the house at him. You know what I mean? Football people, engage 8 if you need to. Who cares? Just send the whole house at him. And we saw what happened. It worked. It battered down Kentucky. It beat them down. And sure, it gave Oweh and Lowe some good looks, but Oweh and Lowe combined for 43 points, and Kentucky lost by 15. So what does
Yeah.
it really matter? That's,
Mhm.
it was frustrating, and it was for that reason. Like I said, it never really felt like, even when Kentucky was making runs, it never felt like they actually had any chance of getting back into this one. It never felt like, from the time the ball was tipped, they went on that 5-0 start and then immediately gave up like a 9-0 run to go down
Yeah.
9-5.
The
It
the
was just,
5-0 initial didn't even feel,
no,
because yeah.
it was kind of just like, when they were up 5-0, you're like, all right, well, that's 2 Alabama 3-pointers, and they're right back in it, and they can do
Yeah.
it. They hit 15 of them in the game. It was just, it was tiring, it was exhausting, and it was extremely discouraging for a team that we thought was kind of turning a corner after those Indiana St. John's game. Obviously, Indiana still where they are. St. John's took another loss in Big East play, I believe. Did they lose to? Was it Providence that they just lost to?
At home.
Yeah. They're not good. And I think Rick Pitino would tell you that, because he did tell us that after the game. He said
We
they
need a
don't have a
point
point.
guard.
He said they
We
don't
need a
have a
point
point
guard.
guard. They don't have one. He said, that's my fault. We can't really do anything about it. That's what we are now.
Yeah.
He admitted they're not that good of a team this year.
Yeah.
And if your best win is against a legendary coach who's telling you we're not going to be that good this year, maybe you're not that good this year.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it in a nutshell. Because I mean, it's, you know 17 more games. You haven't really fixed anything. These same warts appeared. Like you said, thought you turned the corner. Uh, the league isn't what it was, but you're still looking like you're going to struggle. I mean,
Yep.
Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri just beat Florida at home. I know they're up and down, but they're going to come in confident. They're 1-0 in the league already. I mean,
Missouri's up and down, but I think their best win is better than Kentucky's best win.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
a matter of fact, I think Florida's a better team than St. John's, even though both are extremely flawed and both have, ironically, issues with point guard play. Um, it, I don't, we do this thing with 247 Sports, where all of the beat writers for all the SEC schools, we do the SEC media poll. We did it for football, we do it for basketball, and the basketball ones have been kind of we did kind of one for most of the first half of the season until we finally got into SEC play, where now you're actually going to see a ton of movement each week. And I voted, as did I believe most of the other. Let me go check the graphic. I don't know exactly how many. 14, 15, everyone but one of the 16 beat writers voted, and Kentucky, with its alleged $20+ million roster, banner number 9 assignment season, is, according to the beat reporters in the SEC, including myself, when you look at it, the SEC is worse than it was last year. That's
yeah,
just a fact. It's a good
yeah.
conference. It's still top 3 conferences, but it's not clearly the best like it was last year. They're not going to get 14 teams in the field. That is for sure. And when you look at that, what everyone who covers this league, everyone who covers every team in this league had to say, is that Kentucky is firmly middle of the pack.
Yeah.
Out of 16 teams in the media poll, they got 7th. And I think that was even a little bit generous right now with some of their wins and losses. That was people still thinking, I'm not ready to give up on me having Kentucky super high yet. I'm not willing to admit that I was fully wrong. There's still a lot of basketball to be played. We'll see. But even to this point in the season, starting SEC play, people say Kentucky, that's a middle of the pack team in a conference that is a top 3 conference, but isn't what it was last year. And when you look at the wins, do I think Kentucky's going to make the NCAA tournament? Yes, I do. I do. But when you look at that line, when you're drawing, like when you look at all 16 teams as we ranked them, and you're like, where's the cutoff point of who's making the tournament and who's not? It gets a little bit dicey right now when you're looking at Kentucky's resume. When you look at the resumes that exist right now, and sure, there's going to be opportunities to get more wins in the SEC. Right now, Kentucky doesn't really have a great resume. They did not do themselves many favors in the non-conference, and they're moving into a conference that is tough, and they're going to take losses in like we just saw against Alabama. I mean, do we have a ton of confidence that Kentucky's going to have great showings against John Calipari's Arkansas Razorbacks when they go to Fayetteville? Darius Acuff might do terrible things to this basketball team. He might do terrible, terrible things to this basketball team. Even teams that have looked a little bit, we don't know yet, like Tennessee and Georgia, they clearly have signs that they can do good. Florida's done good. Vanderbilt, I mean, statistically right now, the best team in the league. We don't know if they're actually the best team in the league. I'm not fully sold it's not Alabama yet, but right now, statistically, the best team in the league is Vanderbilt. Even in Auburn. Auburn doesn't necessarily have those wins either, but they also don't have any losses that really raise your eyebrows quite as much as, like a point I made, several teams in this conference have lost to Gonzaga. None of them have lost to Gonzaga as bad as Kentucky did. Surely not. They have not lost to Kentucky that badly, or lost to Gonzaga that badly. It doesn't invoke a ton of optimism, Vinny. It doesn't.
And I mean, it's like you said of all the poll, you guys, some still had them. It averaged out to them in 7th. I went 10th. I was like, out of, and I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. We were talking before we started. At least your team's in the playoffs. We'll get to that before we wrap up. The Cowboys wasted, a Dak's offensive season. But when you're top 5 in the league in offense, bottom 5 in defense, you're gonna be middle of the pack. You're gonna be 7-9-1 and missing the playoffs. So this team is middle of the pack. Weaknesses been exposed. Nate Oates, props to you for getting the question that prompted that answer from him, and he went super analytical, forthcoming about how the weaknesses are. They don't pass, and that's basically the quote of the game.
Yeah.
And so, how are you going to fix it? What do you do? And then you go over to the Pope side of things. You already mentioned how. I got to get your thought on that. How quick his press conference was. So props to you for even getting a question into him, because he was only there for like 4 or 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So, did you cover the end of Cal for the Colonel? Were you on some of his? Okay,
I was, yeah.
So Aaron was hosting then, and he was not a fan of the way Cal's pressures were. So I'm sure you had thoughts.
Sure, he also wasn't a fan of Cal just never doing his midweek media and sending an assistant out there every time. But
yeah. So your thoughts on the Pope demeanor after these losses, because it's part of your job. You got to show up. The Collins show, the calls aren't being taken anymore. They weren't the last 2. You flip on the graphic, it still has the number, but it's text or email your questions. So there's no calls there. And then former players, are being brought. Patrick Sparks was on last week for a couple segments, and it's reminiscing. So it's not even really fans getting to ask, So your thoughts on the pressures when he loses, because you're there trying to get a question, trying to get a quote. You just praised Nate Oates, which he did win, but he gave you a fabulous quote that's coming out. So your thoughts on the vibes Pope is giving off? Has this been a hot topic after the Louisville game, North Carolina. Your thoughts, because you've been in there, and
Mhm.
somehow you've been able to get a question to him, because not everybody's able to. So.
Yeah. Well, first things first, with that Oates quote, when it got posted by some people, I saw someone tweet out, they said, whether intentionally or not, did Nate Oates just body bag Kentucky in front of everyone? Yes, he
And
did.
he
He
did it
told
before.
everyone.
He did it with Cal. With Cal should be starting this lineup. He did. He's done this before to Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, he just kind of told her like, this is how you beat him right now. And and quite
Cal needs
frankly,
to play this lineup. It's the most efficient, and
yeah.
everybody's like, why can't they do that? But
Yeah, I mean, if Nate Oates is going to point this out and they don't make a change, then they deserve to lose, quite frankly. But yeah, I mean, all over to your point also about feeling more like number 10, when you look at this poll, Kentucky is currently still ahead of Auburn, Oklahoma, LSU, Missouri. Am I convinced they beat all those teams right now? No, I'm not. I'm not convinced right now. So we'll see. And to your point, Nate Oates spoke to us for 18 minutes. Mark Pope, along with Otega Owe, spoke to us for 5 minutes after that game. It was one of the better losing press conferences in terms of the Michigan State one was rough. That one was rough. And I did still get a question into that one. That's what led to that rant in Madison Square Garden about we will not fail this season.
yeah.
North Carolina was rough. Several of these the Gonzaga one was bleak. I mean, that was a bleak press conference. Everyone was in a bad mood at that one. But it kind of just felt like there wasn't a ton of answers. Another point I want to highlight about something Nate Oates pointed out is he also played a lot of weird defense for Kentucky. I want to read this quote at the end too, and I promise I'm going to answer fully the question you have, but a couple points I want to touch on that question. I also included this quote in my story, and I mentioned after, I said it doesn't take much to read between the lines of what Nate Oates is saying here. And I want to just read this quote to you of Nate Oates defending Kentucky and hear what you have to say. He said, quote, they're still good. They've got players over there that will play in the NBA. They were good last year. It's not like Coach Pope doesn't know what he's doing. He highlighted how many ranked wins they had last year. And he said, it's not like we beat up a bad team. They were good last year and they've got talent this year.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like you're saying they're that good this year, bud. Doesn't seem like you're giving a ton of praise to this year's team.
Or you're got talent, but you're not maximizing it or getting the
Exactly.
most out of it, or getting
With
it
that,
to jail.
yeah, and with that defense, I mean, we had two healthy DNPs in this game. With Trent Noah, that's one I think not many people are going to be too upset about. But another game with Andrea Jelovich, that was something that Nate Oates also had. He said those three players, Garrison, Marino, Quaintance, he said they're good, and they also have another big that they didn't even use. Clearly highlighting Andrea Jelovich, who was not used in any kind of way in this game. And also a weird quote when asked about Cam Williams. I mean, Cam Williams had that. I understand that Bellarmine was playing a zone. I understand Bellarmine was leaving him open, but you wanted Cam Williams to get his confidence. He hits those 8 3-pointers, I believe it was, against Bellarmine. And then he plays, let me see. Cam Williams in this game played 16 minutes, but he did not check in for the first time for a decent bit of time and then just didn't play a ton, right? He only ended up attempting 4 shots. And when asked about that, let me find the quote in here. He said, he was asked, you talked about before the game about guys that shot well. Cam Williams shot well. He didn't really play much. What kind of happened there? And Pope said, quote, yeah, we're searching a little bit in that sense, trying to work on a bigger lineup. It wasn't super functional today, always giving us a huge lift, but there will be ways we can work and ways we need to get bigger. One, why necessarily do they need to be bigger? I don't necessarily understand why that's such an emphasis to play 2 bigs at once, but Cam Williams is bigger than Colin Chandler. It's to that point, if you're trying to play bigger lineups, Cam Williams is bigger than Colin Chandler. Why? I'm not saying this is the case, but someone made me laugh on Twitter, which Twitter's good for that every now and again. Someone made me laugh. They said, honestly, I would have respected him more if he just said, I forgot he was on the bench. Like, I would have appreciated that more. I don't know. And it was weird. Like you said, it was a short press conference. There wasn't a ton of questions. Like I tried to get one out there. People asked some questions, but they still ended it pretty quickly. And it kind of just felt like there wasn't a ton of answers right now for this team. And It kind of felt like, and Mark Pope's not the kind of coach who's going to just rag on his players, necessarily the way Patino would. Patino will get out there and just full on tell you that my guys can't run, they can't do this, they can't do that, they're not effective. Pope's not really going to do that.
We don't
He's
have a
trying,
point guard. We ain't got a
yeah,
point guard. So what you got?
yeah. Mark Pope's just not really going to give you a quote like that. I don't think
Yeah.
the way Rick Pitino would. Quite frankly, most coaches wouldn't. That's something that a guy to the level of Rick Pitino can say, and the school can just be like, "Yeah, well, it's Rick Pitino. What can you do?" He like Calipari could probably say something like that too. I think he's on that level, but Mark Pope's just not quite on that level yet. Doesn't have the success historically to be speaking that way. But he's also just not really that kind of person. He's more of a, I hate to use this term, but I feel like at times tries to be more of a sunshine pumper with the positives. And I think there's a place for that. But it's getting to the point with this team where, Vinny, if I'm being honest with you, I don't know that there is a ton of answers. I think when you look at this team and everything they've tried, I think it gets to a point where you almost have to look at it as they might just not be that good this year. I think I was speaking to someone from the UK media after the game, and I said the hardest part of all this was me just accepting the fact that they're fine. This just is what they are. They got their whole roster healthy, and this is what they are. Are they going to be a bad team? No, they're not bad. They can beat teams that are flawed. They can beat teams that are, tournament fringe, maybe going to go to the dance, but aren't constructed the best. St. John's, Indiana.
Yeah.
But they're play Gonzaga 10 times, they're not winning. They're just not going to do it. I would hate to see what would happen if this team tried to play Michigan. I'll see that in my nightmares, what Michigan might do to this Kentucky team if they ever somehow matched up. That Michigan team is really, really good. They're just, we came into this season with championship ambitions. We came into this season with optimism and confidence, and then the money allegedly. And I just don't think
Ferrari and you beat Purdue, and while players in the second year take exponential progressive leaps in improvement in their play. So that meant Chandler and BG and Noah, all these guys that were here are going to take a jump. And then you got Quains coming in and Cam Williams during the tournament. We forgot about him. He's a sniper, and he's just going to, and the way threw the rush together last year, Ansley Almanor was nobody's radar and how he fit in. So you thought, okay, well, now the staff isn't trying to buy a house, isn't all trying to move to Lexington, don't have as much chaos going on in their life, so they can actually focus and have a more normal offseason. And based on what they did in a rush scenario now, okay, so it was the optimism plus typical Kentucky expectations anyway through the roof. And he didn't temper that. He hasn't tempered that since he's got here. I understand the assignment. Number 9, you're supposed to crush me if I'm not doing well. He played here. He knows. Well, he's fueling it. Hey, I'm with it. And perfect storm. And now for it to kind of thud the way it has.
Yeah.
Flat tires on the Ferrari. There's water in the gas. The engine is knocking and pinging, and here we are. Still got 17 more games in this conference to play, Cole.
They got a Ferrari body on a Toyota Corolla car. I mean, what is there to say about it? I want to emphasize too, I don't know, when it comes to the press conference question, I don't know that there is anything Pope could really say that people would be happy with him right now. But I will say this approach to losing press conferences has not been well received. I'm not saying a different approach would be well received necessarily. People want to see wins, but he's also not doing himself a ton of favors in that regard. And I'm not going to pretend I know what the answer is in that regard, but it's been rough, Vinny. And every time they lose, it's a short press conference with short answers. We saw the Tom Leach interview. It was just, I don't know a better way to say it than just uncomfortable. You watched it and you're like, ugh, I don't feel good about that. And beyond just the loss, beyond just the game, which you obviously don't feel good about, you watch the post-game interview with Tom Leach and you're like, it's not helping me any. If anything, it's making me more concerned that these are the answers we're getting after this, that this is and you got to go back, you got to watch the film, you got to adjust for Missouri. But immediately after something like that, it just didn't feel like there were a ton of answers. There wasn't a ton of what they can change or what they're going to change. And there wasn't a ton of reason for us to expect that anything is going to be different going forward. And after that Michigan State game, Pope really emphasized that things are going to change. We're
Mm-hmm.
not going to be this way. It's going to be different. We're going to change. I even wrote after that. I said, it's clear changes are coming. And I guess some changes have come. They've kind of shifted more to a smash mouth style, but we saw easily how easily Alabama was able to just completely destroy that system that had carried Kentucky to those wins over Indiana and St. John's. And now it kind of feels like you're back at square one, where it feels like there need to be changes made, but I don't know what changes they need to make. And it gets to a point where, like I've said, you kind of feel like you're walking in circles to the point where you're like, well, this is just where I'm at now. This is just where Kentucky is, and this is what they are. And they are what they are.
And
And that's
that might, I don't know if be a little easier pill to swallow. I don't know if that's right, considering this is Kentucky and expectations and the preseason expectations. But this effort and not playing hard, in addition to these deficiencies, if they were playing hard and leaving it on the floor, it still sucks to lose and not be what you thought you were going to be. But at least everybody is giving it their all, and this is just the ceiling is way lower than we thought. But we've seen so many instances where the effort hasn't even been there consistently. And you think back to the Cal's COVID team, they were 9-16, but they fought, they scrapped. Olivier Sarr missed buzzer beaters, and they had chances to. I don't know, maybe they would have been 14-13 or whatever, 14-11 instead of 9-16. Had a few bounces went their way. Still would have been great, but they, by God, they were trying. So that would even. I'm not saying cure how everybody's feeling, but at least nobody could complain about that. And they haven't even checked the effort box consistently.
Yeah, I mean, I saw someone say on just listing off all the tweets I've seen in the last few days, apparently. But I saw another tweet, and I want to emphasize, I'm just quoting a tweet. I'm not trying to make light of a certain situation, but somebody actually posted. They said that team went 9-16, statistically maybe one of the worst Kentucky teams ever, and had that massive tragedy at the end of the season that occurred.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, I enjoyed watching that team more than this one, quite frankly. And last year, probably one of my favorite Kentucky teams ever. And I watched the national title team. That was one of my favorite for sure. But in 2012, of course, I've seen some other great teams that nearly undefeated until the Final Four. Last year's
Yeah.
team was one of my favorite Kentucky teams ever.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that was that there wasn't as many expectations. And people will look back, and I think that's not an uncommon sentiment too. People are even willing to gloss over at times how bad that Ohio State loss was last year, how bad some of those losses, that Alabama loss in the SEC tournament was bleak. That was rough. That was a massacre in the SEC tournament. But it felt like you got a bunch of players who were diamonds in the rough, who were going to give you everything they had for Kentucky, and they fought with everything they had. And even if you knew, by the time you got to the tournament, I think we all knew Kentucky was not a national title threat last year.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, that wasn't the goal anymore. It was, can we get to a second weekend? And they did.
Yeah.
And maybe you didn't like how it ended against Tennessee, but at the end of the day, that team gave you everything they had. That team was fun. That team looked like they cared every game. That team looked like they played every game. Lamont Butler, Andrew Carr, Ansley Almanor, like you just highlight. Even, these guys who even a few years ago, you would have said, are they good enough to play at Kentucky? They gave you everything they had. Now, you look at this game. I mean, I'm not trying to pick on anyone in particular, but you look at this season. Has Denzel Aberdeen been what we thought he was going to be? No, not really. Otega Owe, even when he has a good game, still doesn't feel like he dominates the way he did last year. Colin Chandler feels like he's improved in some ways, but lost things in others. I mean, when you look at Colin Chandler last year, I mean, he had a smaller role last year for sure, but he was kind of a bit of a sniper towards the end of last season. When you see Colin Chandler ball this year, are you like, that's a 3-point threat right there? Because I'm not. I don't think that about him anymore. Trent
Mm-hmm.
Noah's not even getting playing time anymore because his his role just isn't working. Andrea Jelovich is sitting on the bench and has for most of their recent games. Mo Diabate's inconsistent. Moreno's been shut down a bit more as we've gotten against these better teams. Quaintance had his worst game, and granted, he's only played 3, but hit a bad game for Jaden Quaintance against Alabama. I mean, everybody, the entire roster, when you go top to bottom, has anyone really exceeded what we thought they would be this season? Because I wouldn't say so. I think Jalen Lowe's fought. I mean, his shoulder's been a big setback for him. He's tried, he's fought. But when you look at every single member in this roster, go back to preseason. What did you think they could be? What are they? Has anyone exceeded your expectations? Because for me, no, they haven't. There's not a single player on this roster that is overperforming what I thought they could do preseason. They're all underperforming. Some of that's system, some of that's players, some of that's matchups. I get that, but it just feels top to bottom like this year. And we haven't even started. I mean, we've started SEC play. We've had one game in SEC play, and it feels like this season is already like eh, what's next year going to look like? And that's not looking much better because now we're hearing that maybe Kentucky's not even the leader for Tyron Stokes anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So are they going to get a single high school player? I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. It might be another portal year. It might be.
Mm-hmm.
And who are they going to look? Because it's not a great look that your biggest high school recruits from last year, Jasper and Malachi is doing his best, but is Jasper really all that effective right now? No. So if I'm a high school kid, why would I commit there? And I'm not trying to do negative recruiting against Kentucky. I'm just pointing out that right now it's not working. And it not working right now is affecting next year. It's affecting the year after that. It's affecting the year after that. Kentucky got Jaden Quaintance because of how it played through its bigs. That's not a secret. He's admitted that. His dad has admitted that. He came to Kentucky because he liked the way they played through their bigs. And they're not playing through their bigs this year.
Yeah.
So if you're a Jaden Quaintance type player in the portal next season, why would you come to Kentucky? Because the thing that you're like, well, that might work for me. Now you're looking at it. They're not doing it now.
Not going to be
So,
utilized that way when I get
yeah,
there.
over the summer, I talked to Obina Akizi at Peach Jam, and that was one of the things he highlighted. He said, I liked the way they played through their bigs. He highlighted what Amari Williams did, how he's talked to Kentucky. I haven't spoken to him lately, but if I'm watching Kentucky right now, I'm considering my other options.
And it's not you negative recruiting. I mean, they're saying the same thing we're saying, and they're watching it from their point of view because they're going to be out there in those roles should they come here. So they're, they're not going to be like, well, Cole Parker on Believe Kentucky said, shouldn't they already see all these things too. So it's it's a problem, and it's just going to continue to be a problem until it gets fixed or it doesn't, and it continues to just spiral. So and it's starting to compound. Like you said, it's affecting next year and the year after that, and recruiting. On the flip side, the UK women did what you're supposed to do. You go on the road and snatch one from
what a game.
top 5
what
LSU.
a shot by Tony Morgan. What a shot. That was, hey, you hear what was it, Macho Man Randy Savage, that the famous promo that said the cream always rises to the top. That was Tony Morgan right there had the situation that every player dreams of. You're on the road in a hostile environment. You're down. The clock is ticking away. You've got the ball with a chance to upset a team that, Kentucky's good this year, but most people I still, especially more casuals with how the women's game has grown lately, you'd still pick LSU to win that game. It's Kim Mulkey. It's a team that won a national title recently.
They brought Lane Kiffin out at halftime. The whole
like it was. That's the moment everyone dreams of. She had the ball in her hands. She had the ball. She fires the shot and drains it. I mean, that was a moment right there. And if you miss that game, I know there's still plenty of fans who don't watch women's basketball as much as they should. You're missing out. You are absolutely missing out with this team. Kenny Brooks has something special with that group, and that shot, I mean, not to, I'm not trying to pit the teams against each other here, but that shot was a better feeling than anything the men's team has made me feel this year. Even because the Purdue was an exhibition. Like that was cool, but it was an exhibition. This was a legitimate game, SEC opener. They
Yeah,
drained that shot at LSU, and then obviously, prayers up to Tiani Key, who seemed like
yeah.
she dislocated her elbow there. But they go, and even with that injury, they win convincingly against Missouri. I mean, they're rolling. That's a squad right there. That is
That's
a
it.
unit.
To follow that great road win up, quick turnaround, home opener, and still handle business.
Yeah,
To focus,
no hangover, no hangover.
that in Baton Rouge, enjoy the flight home and all that, and then Sunday afternoon, bam, beat Missouri by 20, 2-0 in the league. That's how you do it. That's what the good teams do.
That's what Kentucky's supposed to be. That
Mhm.
Kentucky's generally regarded as a men's basketball school, but when you think of what Kentucky fans want, any sport, that's it. They want you to win the big games. They want you to look good against in the games you're supposed to look good in. They want you to be competing. And that women's team, man, they could be really special this year. They look really good. They got some great women on that team who I think are going to do some great things, and that's a fun team to watch right now.
Yeah, sure. And Amelia Hassett didn't even play good at LSU, and she's a
Yeah.
sniper. I mean,
Yeah.
and so to still be in the game, to withstand punches. I mean, LSU was up 14-2 or something like that. They jumped on them, and then next thing you know, they chip away, weather the storm, and we got a game. Second quarter on, we got a game all night. We're gonna be here. Basically, they said we're not
Yeah.
going anywhere, and I guess it was a. I guess they hit her. Tiana got her on hand for the 3 free throws to give them the lead back.
Yeah. Well,
And
I
then
was I was just gonna highlight that too. I mean, I was on the phone with my girlfriend at the time. Her dad was also watching the game. Her dad's a big Kentucky fan, and I was watching it as well. And when that foul happened, questionable foul, we'll say,
home cooking,
questionable.
home cooking.
Home, that's what a home ref should do,
Little
right?
P Mac, little P Mac special. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, if you're someone who loves baseball, I get it. The robot umps be better, but sometimes the human error, unless it goes against your team, the human error can be a little bit good sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a little bit why you like, and you know what? Maybe I want my home refs to be a little bit biased sometimes. Questionable foul, and they hit all 3 of the free throws to lose the lead, and that's an opportunity. He said, I don't want to hop on Tennessee's thing with the battered ball syndrome, but I feel like you watch enough Kentucky, you're a Kentucky fan, you get a certain bit of jade to you. You get a little bit jaded. When they lost that lead off those 3 free throws and the questionable call, I'll admit it. He said the same thing. I was like, that might have just cost him the game. That might have been it. They might be done after that. And they weren't. They weren't.
Mhm.
They handled that adversity with seconds on the clock, and they got that shot from Tony Morgan. The refs even put a second on the clock again, I think, and LSU couldn't do anything with it. It was
Yeah.
whatever. But like that is how you respond. That is how you handle hurdles. That's how you handle adversity, and that's what great teams do. Great teams can handle a situation like that where maybe you feel like you got a little bit screwed on something, but it doesn't matter. There's still business to take care of, so let's go take care of business. And that's what the women
Absolutely.
did.
Absolutely. So real quick, the portal and the staff for Kentucky football. Will Stein still doing double duty because Oregon is still in the Final Four now. So we got a staff, and we're starting to see Lyman come through, and Cutter Bowley leaves. Everything it's all the parts are moving simultaneously right now. Football.
Yeah, I mean, there were some people I think that were a little bit caught off guard by Boley's transfer. It didn't shock me a ton. I had heard even dating back to Will Stein's introductory press conference that a little bit of how the sausage is made. I had heard before that press conference that if he did transfer, Arizona State was probably going to be the one to watch. I know they had been talking to him for a while. They had been interested in him for a while, ever since that whole debacle with Sam Levitt went on there. They've been looking at Boley. They've been talking to Boley. So sorry to pull back the curtain that tampering exists in college sports. Every
What?
school does it. They've been talking to Boley for a little while. And they did want him, and they got him. He's officially committed to Arizona State. I think he could do some good things down there in Tempe, right outside. I think
Yeah.
that's right outside Phoenix, I want to say. But Kentucky puts Kentucky back in the market for a quarterback. Obviously, there's still a lot of people hoping for Sam Leavitt. He canceled his visit to Texas Tech, is now at LSU, I believe. That's a bit concerning to me. I also think that there is
Mm.
some concern there if Oregon decides they want him. He has Oregon roots. But regardless, still in the mix for that. Kentucky did get some commits. They got Wallace,
Yeah.
might know his brother, might have
Hmm.
heard of him before.
Yeah.
That's a big get.
Yeah.
Out of Arkansas, that's a fun one. I think he could be really, really good. And you also get some other guy. I mean, we know Mike's Humphrey Grace is probably coming back. Ty Bryant's mom confirmed he's coming back. Um, you did lose Dante, who had originally said he was staying, but that also wasn't super shocking because that news of him transferring out came shortly after it was announced Kentucky was going to be hosting some running back transfers. Looking at maybe getting someone to come in there. If I'm, I wish I could say that I was disappointed, but from the player standpoint, I think that makes sense for Dante to transfer out when you hear that news. There has obviously been a lot of emphasis on what they've lost, but they are making some exciting moves. They are making some exciting grabs. They have gotten some good players who I think can be very good players.
Mhm.
And I'm cautiously anytime anything Kentucky football happens, I'm cautiously optimistic. And I still believe in Will Stein. And if you want me to read another tweet to you that I saw that made me laugh, if you want
Yeah.
to know what the sports world of Twitter has going on, I saw a post someone made from Oregon talking about how Oregon can use their Kentucky alliance along with their Cal alliance that they have from their defensive coordinator going to Cal and Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State. It was a 4-team alliance between Kentucky, Arizona State, Oregon, and Cal to declare war on the state of Indiana. And that's how they'll defeat the Hoosiers and Kurt
Oh.
Signati.
Oh.
It was a attack from down low and then a 3-pronged attack. So we're plotting battle strategies on Twitter right now on how we're going to not just beat the Hoosiers, but we're going to take down the state of Indiana. And I believe the quote was, "Banish them to the dreadful state of Ohio where they belong." So that's what's going on. And, people are very sane and healthy on Twitter these days,
Oh, for
but
sure. For sure.
fun little thing to share there.
So who moves on to play in the championship game on January 19th, 2 weeks from tonight?
Oof. That's tough because you would have asked me that before this last round. I would have said Ohio State, and we know how that went. Not quite.
I thought Georgia would have beaten Ole Miss too. So
Yeah, they did in the regular season, didn't they? That was a
yeah, yeah.
rematch.
But it was
Important note: Ole Miss is 2-0 in the playoffs, and they've both been rematches. Why has Ole Miss
yeah.
gotten 2 rematches back to back in the playoffs? Who let this happen? Regardless, whatever. I don't make the bracket. That's not what I'm paid to do, so I don't care. But we do have some interesting matchups. In terms of who I think is going to make it. Let me pull up the bracket because I don't want to accidentally leave anybody out. In terms of who I think is going to be hoisting a championship first, I'm going to say Montana State because they're going to beat Illinois State in the championship in the FCS. But regardless, we got the Peach Bowl between Oregon and Indiana and the Fiesta Bowl between Miami and Ole Miss. I hate to be that guy because I've been wrong before. Kind of feels like the Peach Bowl is the actual national title game there. Indiana, Oregon. It feels like whoever wins that has the best shot at it. And I still full disclosure, would love to see Will Stein and that offense do great things against Indiana. If you want my honest opinion, I'm still going to pick Indiana to win that game. I think until someone proves otherwise, they've been the best team in football all year, and they've continued to look like it. I mean, they just murdered. And it's not an Alabama, but they murdered Alabama. I mean, when was the last time you saw Alabama lose 38-3 in the playoffs? That was insane. So I'm going to pick Indiana to move on there. And in the Fiesta Bowl, I've bet against Miami in every single round so far, and I picked A&M and I picked Ohio State, and they've proved me wrong both times. But I'm a stubborn man, so I'm gonna go Ole Miss. I'm gonna bet against the Hurricanes again for the third time. Third time's the charm. The Hurricanes, who snuck into the playoffs there with the Virginia losing the ACC title game to Duke. Notre Dame gets kicked out. Miami gets put in. Let's call it what it was. They wanted proper ACC representation in the playoffs because we saw how that went last time the ACC didn't get represented. We had 4 teams suing to get out of the conference. The ACC needed a representative, and Miami's done well with that. But I think this run comes to an end against Ole Miss. That just feels like a weird team of destiny right now with Pete Golding. So I'm going to say my title game, Indiana, Ole Miss. Wouldn't shock me if it's Indiana, Miami, but regardless, I'm picking Indiana to hoist it all. Curt Cignetti, year 2 in Bloomington, undefeated national champions. I
Wow.
imagine going back 5 years and saying, yeah, 2025, as expected, Indiana's undefeated national champions. But that's what we're looking at,
Yeah.
Vinny, and until someone shows me otherwise. And I would love to be proven wrong. I would love for the Ducks to put them in their place, declare war on the Hoosier State. But until someone shows me otherwise, I'm saying Cignetti in Indiana. He wins. Google him. They're winning the national title.
Yeah, I mean they already went to Eugene and won by 10 in the regular season.
They did
So
do
this
that.
is
Was that
neutral.
before or after Oregon completely derailed Penn State's season and got James Franklin pre-fired
I want
before
to
he
think
actually got fired?
after. I
I
would have
think
thought that was after
yeah,
they
I think
Oregon and went to
Oregon
Happy Valley.
I think
And
Oregon beat Penn State, and then they went on that skid where they lost to Northwestern, lost to UCLA, and then Franklin
yeah,
got fired.
hmm
And then Indiana beat Oregon. They beat Ohio State in the title game. They beat Alabama badly. I mean, everyone I would have thought could have picked them off hasn't, and Oregon hasn't done it yet. So maybe second time's a charm. It was for Ole Miss against Georgia, but also had a different coach. So we'll
yeah,
see.
yeah. I think what this destiny thing. Ole Miss is galvanized. They're wanting to win. To that we can do it without Lane. I think that's a lot of it. The matchups have been in their favor, especially the first round, against
A Tulane team
Tulane.
that they blew
Yeah,
out in the regular season. They got their
yeah.
blowout again in the playoffs.
hmm I
Um,
think Miami's going to do it. I think Carson Beck was looking forward to playing Georgia, I'm sure, but he's going to have to go against the other SEC team that's left. And I'll say Indiana, Miami to be a little bit different, and we'll see 2 weeks from tonight. College football season will come to a conclusion. Your Patriots, as we flip to the NFL, got Herbert and Jim Harbaugh coming to town, right? Sunday night.
we do.
How you feel? How you feel?
Keep an eye out in the stands. If I see Connor Stallions anywhere in the vicinity of this stadium, I'm losing my mind. But no,
Cheryl
I'm kidding.
Moore.
Hey, he's somewhere else right now. All right,
Oh,
he's
that's right.
somewhere
Yeah,
else
yes.
right.
My bad. Yes.
He's somewhere else right now. But if he's anywhere within the vicinity of the stadium, we got bigger problems. But yeah, no, I mean, funniest possible outcome would be Ole Miss winning it all without Lane Kiffin. That would make me
Yes.
laugh. That would bring joy
Yes.
to my heart. But nonetheless, I'm gonna pick Indiana, and Kentucky fans are gonna lose their mind with like, see, it's possible, and we'll see.
But they were 5, 7 years ago. Indiana fans were saying, "See, it's possible" when Kentucky was winning 10 games. We've already forgotten that. I mean, we didn't
Yeah.
get to the playoffs and win a title, but 2 10-win seasons in our lifetime. Because I was born in '77. It was happening when I was being born the last time. So, and then 1951, the Sugar Bowl season. So, it didn't end well. A lot of the coaches' tenures don't end well. Stoops brought 2, not 1, but 2 that we could see with our own eyes, Cole. That we were
2 asterisks. 2 asterisks.
Yeah,
I don't care. It's 2. It's 2. I don't care what the asterisk. It's 2. But yes.
2. So the 5 and 7 and 4 and 8, recency bias, and that's just he just parted ways. He's no longer the coach here. But just flashback a few years, and everybody was like, "Oh, Kentucky's a basketball school." People in Lawrence were like, "Oh, look at Kentucky." Vanderbilt was like, "Whoa, look at Kentucky." People in Bloomington, look at Kentucky. Now Signetti's taken it to another level. Tip your cap, congratulations. But let's not forget, we were on a similar path. We were in playoff conversations, and had it been the way it is, Kentucky would have made it one of those years. Format had been that.
Yeah. No, and I do want to get to my Patriots here soon, but my final point on the college football playoffs, I'm 22 years old, Vinny. I'm not an old head, but like I'm gonna say a very old head take here. It makes me sad and angry that there are kids born today that might never know that Indiana was a bottom feeder in the Big Ten. That Indiana football was dreadful for most of my life. Just absolutely awful at the game. Some of like people were posting, especially after Indiana murdered Alabama, just how bad some of those losses were they took. They were losing like 70 to like 10. It was bleak in Bloomington. It was wins basketball season, and now it's oh man, we gotta have basketball season after this. Crazy how the tables have turned in that regard. But on to the NFL. My Patriots were neutered with the 2 seed. They gave it to the Broncos, the 1 seed, and I understand. I get it. We shouldn't have lost the Raiders. Oh well. Pete Carroll's gone after 1 season. But regardless, he got on the number 1 pick. So for some reason, the Giants decided to beat the Cowboys in the final week of the season to, Giants gonna giant. Love to see it. But I guess they don't really need Mendoza, so what do they care if they get the 2 pick? But yeah, the Pats are going to face the Chargers. I'm excited. Facing the embodiment of what if as a quarterback, Justin Herbert. Everyone likes to make the, well, if this, if that, if this. I don't care. The Patriots are going to shut them down. Let's go. Drake May, MVP. That's Drake May. Drake, May. My GOAT. Gonna buy the jersey. I'm just talking and rambling at this point, but no, I'm excited. I saw.
Is it gonna be snowing? Is it gonna be snowing up there?
I hope so.
I hope California boys coming to town.
Yeah, I hope it is the least welcoming environment the Chargers have ever gone into in their lives. I saw a tweet that made me laugh. So I think it was one of those big official accounts. They posted like, this is the first season since 2018 when the AFC won't be won by the Chiefs or the Bengals. And Bengals fans are like, man, we're just happy to be included. that was like that old post someone said, like Kobe Bryant and Kwame Brown combined for 63. Kobe had 62 and Kwame had 1. That was the Bengals Chiefs.
Absolutely.
Funny little thing there. But yeah, I mean, both those teams out of the playoffs. There's going to be a new AFC champion, and I think it's going to run back through Foxborough.
Boy, here we go. So
Broncos need to read about Icarus a little bit. They've been flying a little bit too close to the sun with some of these wins they've got. They've been flying a little bit too close to the sun with some of these wins. It's going to catch up to them in the playoffs. Patriots are really good in terms of the rest of the AFC. It doesn't matter. To quote The Rock, it doesn't matter what their name is. Patriots are going all the way.
Right.
On the NFC side, Seahawks are good. It's funny to me that the Rams are still saying they're the best team in football when they're not, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes, Vinny. We'll see how it goes. I'm either going to be really happy or really disappointed the next time we talk.
Yeah. So I'm just going to be watching. As a hater, I can't wait to see the Steelers get eliminated. 49ers, Eagles, Packers, all of them. Once they're out, I can really enjoy the playoffs. Like when Duke's still in the tournament and we're not, you want to see Duke lose. You want to see, that whole thing. Yeah. I'm just on the outside looking in, hate watching some and just leisurely enjoying watching the others. That's where I'm at.
Non-sports fans will never understand the joy of a good hate watch. A good hate watch is a really special thing, and man, can it be fun sometimes. The Steelers last week were in a win-win situation though, because they win, they get in the playoffs. They lose, they're 9-8. So 9-8 Steelers, baby, almost back, but they'll get into the playoffs and they'll have a lovely first-round exit, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably so. So they got Houston going to Pittsburgh, so be a knockdown, drag out, 9-7 kind of game.
I don't want to put a bunch of bulletin board material out there because I know if the Patriots end up losing embarrassingly, people are gonna come to me about it. But Texans, Steelers, 2 teams that just really didn't super feel like playoff teams this year, facing off in the first round. So
if you saw the Texans Twitter, but if you know their playoff history, they're usually that first game on Saturday at 4:30, and they used to be playing Cincinnati for a while. It was Texans Bengals like every year to start the wild card.
They played the Colts one year. They had the Colts in there one year.
So the Texans official Twitter account, it had like a Texan stick figure spitting out its drink seeing that they weren't playing on Saturday at 4:30. They were like, we're not. We're actually playing on Sunday night. So they're just happy with a new time slot. So they've already won.
They're like Bengals fans in that graphic with the Chiefs. They're like, we're just happy to be here. This is a special moment.
It's great, and we made it to Sunday, so somebody else gets to lose first on Saturday, and we're still in it come Sunday.
One day further than they usually make it. So there you go, baby. Every day counts. Chip away at it, brick by brick, one day at a time. One day at a time.
So, man, looking forward to hearing you on radio here in a little bit. I'm gonna flip on WLAP and hear you and the legend Dick Gabriel on Big Blue Insider. So y'all check Cole out there, and the Cat's Paws, and check out all the work, all the write-ups, the stories right after the game. Then they're updated with the quotes. Y'all follow him on social media. Y'all know. Then he's like a 5-star chef in his spare time on Instagram. So all those things as well.
Dishes planned out, was at the store. That's why we started this at 5:30 instead of 5. I was at the grocery store getting some stuff for my next 2 dishes.
Absolutely. Missouri comes to Lexington Wednesday. Cats need to hold serve and get the 1-1 in the conference. If they drop that and go 0-2, it's just a lot of questions. Going to get ugly, going to get awkward, and just that ceiling is just going to continue to fall because this season, it's just going to become more of a grind and a drag, and it'll be more enduring the season than enjoying the season, and that's just going to be the reality of it. So y'all keep coming back to us for more episodes of Believe in Kentucky. Check Cole out on the Cat's Paws. Check him out on radio tonight. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a follow. Got the YouTube, we got the Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you listen, wherever you watch. We appreciate it, and all that stuff does show to grow. So check us out on the Believe Network. For my man Cole Park, my name is Vinny Hardy. Another episode of Believe in Kentucky. Go Cats. We'll holler at y'all next time.